Craig.
Good morning, Sarah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. And you?
I'm doing well. We are about to talk about a topic that I'm actually really excited to discuss with you this morning. This is something that I think of as both timeless, yet very much on trend and on topic for the time that we're living through. And so what we're going to talk about today is defamation. And we get a lot of calls and emails wondering if someone has a defamation case, wondering if it's something that we do as a law firm. And so what I'd like for us to do during this conversation is really maybe bring some clarity to what defamation is, what the different scenarios might be where someone actually has a case, maybe do a little bit of debunking. And so really, I'd like to open it up for you to really set some foundation for us on what is, in fact, defamation.
Sure. Yes, a lot of people misunderstand what it is. And basically, defamation is sort of a general description of certain types of torts or causes of action people have. And they really break down into two categories: slander and libel. Slander is spoken. If I say, Sarah, you're a thief and you defrauded the people you work for and you're going to get prosecuted.
True.
That's slander. If I write it down, it's libel.
Okay.
That's the first distinction people have to understand, is that there's a distinction between verbal slander and written libel, but they both are forms of defamation. And defamation really, if you just want to think of a very general definition, is basically something that's said or written about a person that lowers their reputation within their community and is generally not true.
Generally not true. So does someone have to prove that what they've said or written is in fact true or not true, depending on what side of the argument we're talking about? How does it work if I think someone has written something false about me? Is that alone enough of a reason for me to, sue them or have a case?
Well, there are numerous defenses to a claim of defamation. And one of them, in fact, is an absolute defense, is truth. So if I say, Sarah, you're a thief and you defrauded your employer, and
I don't like the theme of this,
purely by example.
This is going to potentially be shared publicly. I'll allow it, but let's just add a little asterisk that.
But definitely not true. That's true.
Yeah, thank you. All right, keep going.
If I can prove it's true, in other words, you're arrested and convicted of that crime, that's truth. It's an absolute defense. And therefore, even though it lowers your reputation and defames you, it's not actionable.
Okay. So when people come to us and say, do I have a case? I know that there's something about whether someone is it a personal, citizen? Is this a public figure? Are there any lines or, distinctions between just an everyday, someone said something I don't agree with, on social media? Because obviously, I think why this topic is so timely is that with social media and the rise of people using that as a main form of communication and sharing their opinions, what we post can be just that, an opinion. So there's a lot of that on the personal level. And then I know that once we step into someone being either a political figure, a politician, a celebrity, the scale and the size of the audience broadens. So talk a little bit about if there's a distinction there, how cases are tried, or just whether or not someone has a case, if they're just talking about themselves in their little circle.
Right. There's three categories of individuals involving or potentially being involved in a defamation claim. There's a private individual, there's a public figure, and there's what's called a limited purpose public figure. A private individual is just that. It would be like you and I, sort of average everyday citizens that for whatever reason are not well known. We're not politicians, we're not newsworthy figures, etc. Yet, that's right. Yet, and therefore are considered to be private individuals. And the standard there is different than it is if you have a public figure. And a public figure, because the public figure is a public figure, whether it's a personality, an actor, a famous musician, a politician, certain other members of local boards and things. The thought there is that there's a higher threshold that they have to prove in order to hold someone liable for or responsible for libel or slander, because they are in the public eye. And the thought is they need to have a little thicker skin.
Okay.
Um, and then the limited purpose public figure is someone who, generally speaking, would not be considered a public figure, but because of their involvement in a particular event or a particular aspect, if they thrust themselves into a conversation, for example, then they're considered a limited purpose public figure, and the same higher standard that they would have to prove to prevail on a defamation case. Whereas a private figure just has to prove basically negligence, like an auto accident almost, just prove negligence. Whereas the public figure or the limited purpose public figure has to prove what's called, malice, and that's proven by showing that the person who said or published the alleged defamatory comment did it either knowing it was false or did so with reckless disregard for whether it was true or false. So it's a very high standard that the public figure, limited purpose public, has to get over in order to prevail in a defamation claim, whereas the average citizen doesn't have that higher hurdle to get over.
Yeah, I love that phrase though, that reckless
disregard.
Reckless disregard. It makes me think of my 6-year-old living his life, reckless disregard.
Sort of.
Yeah.
You went ahead and did it and just didn't really care one way or the other what was going to happen.
Yeah. So what is the value of that, or what is it worth? So, if someone has published something about me, whether I'm a political, public figure or just an everyday citizen, and, maybe my feathers are ruffled and I want the truth to be known, what am I entitled to? How do you decide whether or not this is something you want to pursue? Because again, if someone comes to us and says, do I have a case, or I believe I've been defamed, what are they really able to get other than just retracting that statement if it's libel, or, can you just say, like, I take it back? That doesn't feel like there's something of a tangible value to that.
Well, you certainly can do that. And that may or may not affect the value of the case or the ability to pursue the case, but you get money damages, just like you would in any type of tort. Like I said, if you're injured in a car accident, or, someone hits you with an errant baseball or something, that you would be given money damages for the allegation of the damage to your reputation. So it's obviously a very amorphous type thing. It's not where you can, like, a lost wage. You say, well, this person made this much per week and they're going to work another 30 years. You do the math. Whereas this is up to a jury or the court to award what they believe is the value of the diminution or harm to your reputation. And there are other damages that you can attain as well. If you have suffered a direct financial loss, like to your business or whatever, you can recover damages in that regard as well under certain circumstances. But the main thing is a jury or a court has to assign a dollar value to the damage done to your reputation if you've proven, that you were defamed and that none of the defenses are applicable.
Okay, very good. Well, Craig, what have I not yet asked you? What else would you want the common everyday man to know, or a business? Certainly, I know you work a lot with the media. What else do you think is important for people to know about the topic of defamation, whether it's because of something going on right now or just over your years of experience, something that you think is worth noting at this point?
Well, the first thing I think people need to know is it's extremely difficult to succeed on a defamation claim. And that's why you don't see a lot of them. Now you hear about famous ones like the recent one involving Johnny Depp and the other celebrity.
Amber Heard.
Amber Heard, yes.
I don't know if you weren't stating her name because you didn't remember it or you just were choosing, but everything I know about defamation, I learned by observing that trial.
That's my understanding, and probably seeing it on television probably helped educate people as well. But
exactly,
it's extremely difficult to succeed on, and particularly if you're a public or limited purpose public figure. And I always tell people that are school board directors or people that are well known in the community, politicians, you have to have a thick skin, because the idea being that you have put yourself into the public eye, and therefore, you shouldn't be quite as sensitive about it. And the second thing is that, with regard to the tort of defamation, you'll hear about things called invasion of privacy, which are subcategories, if you will. But what I want to get across is the fact that one of the other defenses to it is the fact that whatever is said is an opinion. Opinion is protected to a large extent, and the law says that opinion cannot be prosecuted as defamatory unless the opinion given either demonstrates or hints at the fact that there are undisclosed facts upon which that opinion is based. Now, you can hear that's a rather complicated definition and very difficult to sort out, but a lot of times, people that say certain things or write certain things, it's only their opinion. And the law recognizes that we want to foster opinion. We want to foster discussions and different opinions, and therefore we're not going to automatically punish it if it's an opinion. That's why a lot of times with newspapers, you see on the editorial page, those are opinion pieces, and therefore much more difficult to succeed on in defamation than just a case where I accuse you of a crime or some other, impropriety.
Fraud and stealing from my employer,
I wasn't going to say it again.
I know. The people have not forgotten.
Right. Exactly. So that's, it's not, you don't see it often because it's difficult to prove and it's difficult to succeed on.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Craig, for taking a few minutes and chatting with us. I know you've got experience with cases in the past that you've successfully, presented and won in the defamation category. And again, it's both timeless and very topical and trending because of the day and age that we're living in. So I appreciate you shedding some light on the topic for us. And I believe that is it for today.
All right. Well, thank you. I was happy to share it. Hopefully it was helpful.
I'm sure it was, not just for people that might watch this, but for me as well. So thank you.
Right, you're welcome.